The negativity bias of the brain. Did you know the human brain remembers more negative memories than positive ones? This is due to the negativity bias the brain sets up as a defense mechanism. Your brain is hardwired to focus on the negative. This is known as the negative bias of the brain. Fortunately, we can rewire our neural connection. Learning new things makes your brain stronger, and repeating those new things creates new neurons. The same is true for positive habits of mind. They're learnable and self-strengthening. Mindfulness is a bridge to positive habits. Take a break and look at something different. Savor the calm. Look for good things in small moments. Look and talk about the good traits of others. Take exercise. Be persistent, knowing that change takes time. Have you ever found yourself dwelling on an insult or fixating on your mistakes? Criticisms often have a greater impact than compliments, and bad news frequently draws more attention than good. The reason for this is that negative events have a greater impact on our brains than positive ones. Psychologists refer to this as the negative bias, and it can have a powerful effect on your behaviour, your decisions, and even your relationships. A simple example is how the loss of £20 feels so much more painful than the equivalent joy of finding £20. This is now proven about the human brain, that the negative thoughts will be effectively double the positive ones. The ability to reverse the effect in our mind depends on our tendency towards positive or negative thinking and actions. If we receive a compliment from someone, then a criticism from someone else, the two don't neutralise each other. We feel twice as bad about the criticism as we feel good about the compliment. The criticism would definitely leave a stronger emotional mark. It's how we cope with reversing the effect that counts. And this is done by positive action like vocalising appreciation rather than mere positive thinking. Our brains are hardwired to expect negativity. This formation of a negative mental bias in the brain dates back to the caveman days when we needed to be prepared for attack or threat. But these are out-of-date mental hang-ups obstructing our path to happiness, and only action like active appreciation overturns it. The historic inherited anxiety goes back to Neanderthal man, and yet still we struggle with it today. The negative bias is our tendency not only to register negative stimuli more readily, but also to dwell on these events. This negativity bias means that we feel the sting of a rebuke more powerfully than we feel the joy of praise. This psychological phenomenon explains why bad first impressions can be so difficult to overcome, and why past traumas can have such long lingering effects. In almost any interaction, we're more likely to notice negative things and later remember them more vividly. As humans, we tend to remember traumatic experiences better than positive ones, recall insults better than praise, react more strongly to negative stimuli, think about negative things more frequently than positive ones, respond more strongly to negative events than to equally positive ones. For example, you might be having a great day at work and a colleague makes an offhand comment that you find irritating. You then find yourself stewing over his words for the rest of the day. When you get home from work and someone asks you how your day was, you reply that it was terrible, even though it was a great day despite that one negative incident. News coverage is predominantly negative. Around the world, negative news articles dominate the media. But why is that? One hypothesis is that due to negativity bias, negative coverage is more attention grabbing than positive coverage. Examining people's psychophysiological reactions to video and news content in 17 countries, the results revealed that globally humans are more aroused by and attentive to negative news on average. We think about negative events more. Have you ever been hung up on something terrible which happened earlier in the week, despite everything else going great? Our tendency to think more about negative events is another example of this bias in action. A 2009 scientific paper reviewed ample evidence to suggest that negative emotions last longer than positive ones, that we tend to spend more time thinking about negative events, and that we often reason about them more. This is likely related to learning and memory processes. The more attention we give to a stimulus or experience, the higher the likelihood that we'll commit it to memory. Can you think of more examples of negativity bias in action? How to overcome negative bias. The negativity bias can take a toll on your mental health. It can cause you to dwell on dark thoughts, hurt your relationships with loved ones, and make it difficult to maintain an optimistic outlook on life. Fortunately, there are steps you can take to change your thinking. Some of the things that you can do include: stop negative self-talk. Think thoughts of love, dismiss thoughts of fear. Pay attention to the type of thoughts that run through your mind. After an event takes place, you might find yourself thinking things like, "I shouldn't have done that." This negative self-talk shapes how you think about yourself and others. Reframe the situation. How you talk to yourself about events, experiences and people plays a large role in shaping how you interpret events. When you find yourself interpreting something in a negative way, or only focusing on the bad aspect of the situation, look for ways to reframe the events in a more positive light. This doesn't mean ignoring potential dangers or wearing rose-coloured spectacles. It simply means refocusing so that you give fair and equal weight to good events. Session 9 of the course explains the perception cycle and how you can think more loving thoughts and less fearful ones. Establish new patterns. When you find yourself ruminating on things, look for an uplifting activity to pull yourself out of the negative mindset. For example, if you find yourself mentally reviewing some unpleasant event or outcome, consciously try to redirect your attention elsewhere and engage in an activity that brings you joy. Listening to upbeat music, going for a walk or reading a good book are all ways to get your mind off negative thoughts. More ways to overcome negative bias. Savour positive moments. Because it takes more for positive experiences to be remembered, it's important to give extra attention to good things that happen. Where negative things might be quickly transferred and stored in your long-term memory, you need to make more of an effort to get the same effect from happy moments. So when something great happens, take a moment to really focus on it. Replay the moment several times in your memory and focus on the wonderful feelings the memory evokes. Mindfulness, breathing, meditation. Practicing mindfulness is a good way to become more attuned to your own emotions. Through guided meditations, reflection and other mindfulness interventions, you can start to observe your feelings and thoughts more objectively. The negativity bias can have a powerful impact on your behaviour, but being aware of it means that you can take steps to adopt a more positive outlook on life. Take a more mindful approach that involves being aware of your own tendency towards negativity and consciously elevating happier thoughts to the forefront of awareness. This is one of the best ways to combat negative bias. Ruminating on the negative can take a serious toll, so taking steps to combat this bias can play a role in boosting your mental well-being.